our beliefs as truths, not ideas that we can change. The same was my story till life happened. I still remember standing on the outer circle of Connaught Place in New Delhi, looking at the iconic Gopal Das building. Then my eyes turned to the even taller Statesman building. These two, mind you, were not even the tallest buildings in Delhi, as I was soon to discover. You see, I had moved to Delhi to study journalism from Missouri. Of course, I was overwhelmed by the city. The sounds, the sights, the language, everything overwhelmed. But there was something deeper driving me. I wanted to see my name in the newspapers. The ones that made home to our house up in the hills after our akhbar wale uncle had trudged uphill at around lunchtime. And so here I was a year later working in the national capital in a national newspaper. I was supposed to be doing an internship in a newspaper as part of my journalism honors course. They liked my work, and that's how I joined a newspaper. At 19, I was still studying in the Delhi University when I was covering the university beat. Of course, it was a fact I had to keep hidden from my sources in the university. I wrote from my heart, something that came naturally to me. I got all kinds of reactions for it. For example, there were seniors who told me, stop sitting on top of a mountain and writing from your heart all the time. Some told me, stop getting over and word in a story, yaar. Be objective. I had learnt the art of being objective and writing from my heart. My emotions then weren't too much, were they? Well, even if they were working well for me. So here I was writing from my heart and hopefully doing well for myself. And that's how some interesting stories happened. I see 814 hijack, you've all heard of that. I was one of the many reporters who was sitting in the waiting room, waiting for some more updates. And that's when I spot this old lady looking very distraught, too distraught to be speaking to the media people. We all know what media does, right? Constantly going for bites. This old lady was too distraught to be speaking, giving bites. I have grown up with grandparents. So I walked up to her and, looked at her and I said, are you okay, Dadi? And she said, Beta, my son, my grandchildren and my daughter-in-law are inside. I just held her hand and I said, Dadi, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. And then I just sat by her side and spoke to her. I exchanged stories of my grandparents and we just got talking. And soon I told her that the women and the children were going to be released soon. And once, several hours had passed, I obviously was still a cub reporter. I didn't even know if I was getting a story. I was just sitting there supporting an old lady. And then the announcement was made. And so this lady walked up. And before she was leaving, she said, here's my phone number. It was a landline. She said, call me after 1.5 hours. I want you to come and meet my grandchildren and my family. And that is how I broke the story of how the terrorists were interacting with each other. The code names they were using. Daftar, Doctor, Burger, those were the names they were calling each other with. The next, I moved to a financial daily where in the weekend section, I was supposed to speak to several CEOs, actors, singers, various people at the top. A friend of mine, who later became a friend, told me that one of my interviews with the top MD later helped make a very positive impact because the story looked at him as not just a professional but somebody beyond his business. I looked at the finer nuances and emotions being my strength. I got the little stories of what he wanted to do with his, why he was growing up as a child and the little stories. The next is a very interesting one. I was in Bombay and I was trying to speak to a top model when her mother answered the phone. And the model wasn't home, but the mother ended up telling me that she was very distraught. Her daughter was having an affair after she was married, and this was to her ex boyfriend. And so that's how my empathy was helping me get a lot of stories. Love, of course, meanwhile had blossomed, and relationships had come and gone, and the one that showed signs of permanence was called on. And 4 years later, I was pregnant. A great time for a woman to be happy, right? Sadly, it wasn't the story for me. I went through severe mental trauma at home from a segment rarely expected. There are no movies from the 80s made on this scenario. And my media organization had decided it wasn't the right time for me to be pregnant. So, even though I had been a reporter all my life, I was suddenly put on the desk. And on a night shift, I was still feeding my child by the way. I was being forced to quit the situation at home, the situation at work. I wanted to quit everything. And that's when my gynecologist recommended me to a mental health professional. Now that hurt my idea of truth. As a woman who'd worked in free metros and I came from a small town, I'd made it on my own. That hurt my idea of truth. I'm strong, I can do this, I told myself all my life. And here I was sitting in the office of a psychologist who asked me, "How many times does your baby kick?" I sat there feeling blank. "I don't know," I said. And what he said next was a life changing moment. He said, "Do you realize if you slip into depression, I can't even put you on medication? And if you decide not to have a second child, this is the first and the last time you will probably feel a child grow inside you. A little one inside me, completely dependent on me. I can do this, I'm strong." And that's how, on a cold January morning, my little one arrived. It's been 16 years, I still cannot describe the feeling of holding her in my arms. Now, picture this 6 years have passed, it's a lovely morning in a hill station house, and I'm getting my little one ready for school. And then I find it rising inside me, this feeling of sweaty palms, a palpitating heart, just a feeling of unease. I'm strong, I can do this, I told myself. But you know what? This time, even that truth wasn't helping me. I can do this, I'm strong, I've done this earlier. It was a perfect day to be grateful for, right? I had this cute little girl, curly hair, dimpled cheeks, look at her. And I was still here feeling that way. I was angry, I was upset, I was anxious. I just didn't know what hit me. And that is when my idea of truth changed again. Until now, I was speaking to mental health professionals only as experts. These were people I spoke to for stories. An accident somewhere, a big catastrophe, IC-814 hijack, asking them how people dealt with severe situations in life. And here I was in a severe situation myself. And that is when my idea of truth changed. Until now, my idea of truth was, if I'm strong, I don't need support. But after I sought support, I knew I'm strong because I know what to do about it. I'm strong because I know how to seek support, to get help when I need it. That's my little girl. And it's also important to then analyze what is the idea of truth for all of us. I mean, we do see an expert when there's a broken bone, right? Or if we have a bad stomach infection, we will see an expert. Why do we not think it's okay to see a mental health expert for broken emotions? Broken bones? We need to see an expert. Broken emotions? No, deal with it. So, next time, if somebody tells you, don't you think you're overthinking? Come on, be positive. It's just a phase, it will pass. Don't. It's not a phase. Tune into yourself and ask yourself, do you really want to go through this? Statistics show that 197.3 million people in India suffer from mental health disorders. And this is a pre COVID number. The numbers went up by 20% post COVID. We all know what mental health can do. And of course, if you haven't seen the adorable Dr. Jug Jahangir tell you why it's important to seek mental health, please do. He talks about how we normalize seeking support for any other physical ailment, but mental health we almost behave as if mind or body जुड़े हुए ही नहीं है, which is not the fact, right? So let us start the conversation. And here is when another truth came into my life. I lost somebody very, very close to my heart to a mental health condition. Can we really ignore to not look at mental health? I can't. And I don't think any of us should. That is when I reevaluated my idea of truth without compromising on the feeling and the emotion. And that is how the universe also decided to help me. I got talking to an ex-senior colleague of mine, and we came up with the idea of starting a mental health and well-being platform. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is when my second child, the Mind Diaries, was born. And this time around, I felt its every kick. So here I am, 2 years later, running the first of its kind magazine on mental health and well-being. That's the team. We organize events, we organize seminars, we organize open mics, and in our first year of existence, Wimhands came and we have a collaboration. We do a mental health monthly talk series with them. We organize several things. Those are our covers. We've featured some wonderful people on the covers. Ruskin Bond has gone on and talked about how mental health is important. Vikas Khanna spoke openly about how his mother normalized crying. We spoke about how climate change is affecting youth. This issue, we have Manisha Koirala on the cover. So here are my big lessons. Good mental health is important for a good, healthy body. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. Your emotions can be the most powerful tools when used well. Yoga and self-care are the foundation of life and after. Life is a beautiful gift. It's meant to be lived well. And like Dr. Jug happily said, अगर तुम खुल के रो नहीं सकती हो तो खुल के हंस कैसे पाओगी? So I take no shame in crying and laughing. Life is meant to be lived fully, embraced well. Thank you.